You get thrown 9 times, guess what? You get up 10. You got to be persistent with judo. So both of that, I try to teach life skills. Judo and life go hand in hand.
Hey guys, David Loshelder, Dadbod, Judo. Hey, today in our podcast here, I have a very special guest, one of my dear friends from many, many, many years. As a matter of fact, he's been doing judo as long as I've been alive. So I'm super excited to have him on here. His name's Paul Jordan, has a super successful club near Cleveland, Ohio, and the Shutubu Club. Love to go to his tournaments. Just love the guy to death, and I have him here. I'm so excited. So I want to appreciate. Thanks for coming on, Paul. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on there, Judo Bod. Judo Bod, Dave.
Well, listen, man, I can't wait to pick your brain. You're a 7th Dan. You've been doing judo for 52 years, 53 years, and I'm all ears today. So we were talking offline here about starting a judo business, about development, developing kids and adults, and getting into the sport. I know you're a black belt in jiu-jitsu as well. So I mean, with all that experience, I'm really super curious. So let's just start off, man. What's on your mind? Let's get into it.
So Dave, here's the funny thing is today that my judo club started off as a in a rec center, and a friend of mine, when my judo instructor passed away, we decided to start a club. And we started it. He was a little bit more business oriented than I was. I was working, and all I did is like to train judo. And he wanted to start a club. My instructor, like I said, my instructor had passed away, and we decided to start. And we did it for a year, and it didn't last. It lasted for about a year, and it didn't get very successful. And that was in 1993, I think it was. Went for a year, and then what we did, we moved it to a rec center. And in the rec center, we were there probably 15 years. And the funny thing about it was we had a very good judo club there. I could teach some kids, but we had a real strong senior program in there. Guys I used to train with from all over the world, from Iran, from Senegal, from Canada, from Germany. They would come in and really good judo. It was a real small room, but we had really good judo. Then eventually down the road, my wife had a really successful career in the medical sales, and decided she made a career change and started to quit her job and took her severance pay and decided she wanted to do this. And she looked at me, since I was working 30 hours at the judo club at the rec center. She goes, "You need to find a way how to make money teaching judo." And here's where most people in the judo community say, "Hey," and this was my response, "I love teaching judo. Why do I want to get paid for it?" And from then on, it was like, you know what? Why would I want to get paid for it? I just love teaching. I like playing it, and never had the business aspect of doing it at all. So after that happened, we had our club in Cleveland. And what we did, my partner, Michael Mooney, and myself, we decided to go our separate ways. He decided to do a Shutubu East, and I did a Shutubu West. And we still had the club in Cleveland, where a couple of black belts, they took that over. And we just had 3 clubs and went separate ways. And then I moved back to my hometown, the club, and moved into a karate studio, which was nice. And as I started off, I probably had about 15 members. They would go down to the club in Cleveland, some of them from where I lived at. And the first month I made $400, and I was tickled pink. I was excited. Oh my gosh, I made $400. This is awesome. But the more and shortly after that, now again, I'm at a karate studio, and I'm limited to my time. I'm limited, to the rules of the individual there. And what happened was, he had some issues, some financial issues, and I was hung out to dry. And one of the parents said, "Hey, there's a place over in this community. Why don't you go ahead and take a look over there?" And Dave, I tell you what, the good Lord upstairs was looking out after me, because the community took me into. Why do I want to go there? And mind you now, it was 7 miles from where I was at. So a 7 mile difference. And in the community, in the karate studio, when I would ask parents, I was charging a certain amount of money, which was dirt cheap. And they would look at me and go, "Oh my gosh." And I was selling judo gis at wholesale price. And they're like, "Oh, you have to buy a judo gi too." And it's like, "Oh, I gotta buy a judo gi too." And it's like, oh my gosh, I don't think it wasn't even $70. And the parents are sitting there going, saying, I don't know what they were. Their mindset was just, I don't know what it was. Take me over to the other community. When I started, I actually found a place in the community in Avon, Ohio, which I couldn't figure why I wanted to go there. But I went there and I had my first space. It was a garage. It was a concrete block building, no insulation. Um, I had one mat area in there. We had another 2 rooms, and when we did fitness in there too. My wife and I did fitness in there too. And I was tickled pink that I had my own club, my own building. I could do my own stuff in there. I don't have to answer to anybody. No karate instructor or the rec center manager or this. I'm doing my own thing in there. And down the road, and I'll just say real quick, down about 15 years later, I'm in it, the community I'm in right now. And this is always important too when people want to start out, when they want to start their judo clubs or martial arts studios, whatever they want to do, is that look where you're moving into. The community I'm in right now has 1,400 kids that play soccer. They have about 1,000 to 1,200 kids that play Little League baseball. I am in a community where parents and their kids like to do stuff. So when I look back at the community, when I was in Elyria, Ohio, and they were complaining about it was too much. My first class I did, I had adults and I had, older kids, and I combined them. But I started a 4 to 6-year-old class, and I get 20 kids in there. And believe me not, when I started, I didn't know what I was doing, and I had to figure it out real fast. The first class, we bowed in. I said, "Follow me." And I had 20 kids go 20 different directions. And the parents just started laughing. I'm like, oh my gosh. But that was my first class. And after 2 weeks, I actually called the Taekwondo studio and saw what they were charging. Had somebody call and see what they were charging. I think it would have been in 2000 and I think maybe 2006, 2005. And they were charging so I was charging $85 a month, mind you, 85. And to me, I was like, oh, that's a lot of money. After 2 weeks, you never guess what the parents were telling me.
What?
I wasn't charging enough.
Really?
And I sat there and went, what? They go, for what you do not charge enough money. So immediately when I started my own business, because I always thought, my feeling was, judo is the best martial art out there for self-defense, you name it. I get a hold of somebody, Dave, you get a hold of somebody, you're going for a ride and you're coming down on the concrete and you're not getting up from that ride. And to defend yourself and anti-bully stuff and all this, you slam a kid on the ground or you slamming somebody on there, you're going to pretty much knock the fight out of everything. So I knew I had the best martial arts, but I didn't feel that I could, charge that what it's worth, the value of it. So when people come and tell me that, well, what do you charge for a month for martial arts? And I'll ask them, and they'll go, I charge $60 a month. I go, how do you stay in business? How do you stay? How many members do you have to stay in business for $60 a month? I go, you're basically giving it away. How many times you teach judo? Well, I have classes 3 to 4 times a week. I go, break that down. Break that 4 classes a week, however it is. You're talking about $5 a class.
Mhm.
I go, who does that? You look at if you put in today's aspect, you go into Brazilian jiu-jitsu schools, it's over $200.
Mhm.
You go into gymnastics school, it's over $200. Dance studios. Judo is part of that too. When I moved into my community where I'm at now, there was a Taekwondo studio that was huge. I moved in there and people go, they don't even know what judo is. And now today, that taekwondo studio actually had to move out of their building now. They are now in a school where they rent space and the enrollment was now when they say things now, it's like they know where Shootaboo's at. People come in, and I always say word of mouth is always the best way. There's so much more you got to do. But now when you're asking stuff, martial arts in the community that I'm in the surrounding little cities, they know who I am. They know where Shootaboo Judo's at.
Mhm.
They've heard about that. They've now, and that now, mind you, now it's taken 15 years to get there. But I got there doing that. And I had to start doing a certain thing. So, when I look at it, I try to explain to people, so you've got to have the mindset that um how do I want to say this? I'll go back to when I moved into the place, I had to quit my job. I had worked for Budweiser for 25 years, and I knew that I had to quit my job or this would not be successful. And I thought to myself, I go, how do you know what? How do you quit your job and do that? And I quit my job and start. And I had in the beginning, it was tough. I had a hustle out there, but through persistency, doing the right things, selling a good product to the families, to the parents, treating the kids with respect, understanding the sport of judo and how to sell it and how to teach it. How to teach it is critical too. Um, I can go on and say when I started, when I was in the rec center, we were going to big events, national championships, all these big tournaments. When I started my own school, I had to take 10 steps backwards. I'm doing basically beginners now. I'm not going to the national championships. I'm not going to these big tournaments. Now I've become a judo instructor full time, and I have to treat it that way because, as you know, coming from South Hills, when South Hills went from Mr. Z to the ownership after that, they tried to turn that into a competitive school.
Mhm.
When you turn stuff into a competitive school, you're going to alienate 80% of your base.
Mhm.
And when I'm dealing with my kids at my school, I have 180, 108, I think about 190 judo kids in my club. If I push them all to a competitive judo school, 80% of those kids are going to go bye bye.
Yeah.
Not everybody's a competitor. The competitors will rise up and you'll find out who they are. I don't want to force anybody into that. I do 2 tournaments in my judo club a year. And that's just so they get because I try to explain to parents, when I get a closed group of people, like when the kids come in, now usually when I have a judo tournament in the club, there's usually about 80 kids there from my club, 80, 85. I don't get them all in there because some of the kids don't want to compete. And I'm not going to force that on them because if I force it on them and they go out there and they get slammed, guess what? They're not coming back.
Yeah.
Even when I do in-house tournaments, I keep the beginners, keeping there. And I tell the parents, the reason I like the kids to compete, at least in the in-house tournaments, not outside of the judo club, in-house, is that your athlete is going to have to fight their whole life. And they're going to have to fight for a job. They're going to have to fight for a wife. They're going to go through things that aren't normal fights. And how the world treats us is we're going to get knocked down. And judo knocks us down. And to be successful at judo, you get knocked down, guess what? You got to get back up. You get thrown 9 times, guess what? You get up 10. You got to be persistent with judo. So both of that, I try to teach life skills. Judo and life go hand in hand because you've been successful at judo. And judo is not an easy sport. I mean, I make it fun for the kids. I
Mhm.
got 4-year-olds, and the parents look at me like I got the kids. They love to do burpees. They love doing push ups, and they don't know any better. because they don't know. And by the time they get to be 8, 9, 10 years old and they're knocking out they just do it because hey, it's a piece of cake, instead of them being out there that are, I get the computer kid coming over that's, a little bit overweight and trying to do a push up and he can't even lift himself up. I got kids from started 4 years old that are in a mindset they love to exercise.
Mhm.
And the stuff I do there, it's more a lot of exercise with the kids when I start off, and a little bit of judo in there too. Because as I start with the little kids, 4 to 6 year olds, I do a 3 to 5 year old class too. Oh, and that one's challenging.
You,
And
you
but
diaper changing too? I mean, my God.
no, the kids have to be potty trained. I'm not gonna take. I've had some things where some stuff fell on the mat that I didn't know what it was, and it was stuff that was
That's
falling
the
out of their pants. So
that's
I
that's the worth it to have you on the podcast for that one.
but here's the thing I look at, Dave, too, is that the karate studios, the taekwondo studios, and I've talked to judo people, and they say, you know what? I can't teach a kid till they're 7, 8 years old. And I'll look at them and I go, listen, you can do that if you want. But if you don't start teaching them when they're 4 and 5 years old, taekwondo is going to get them. Karate is going to get them. And then when you get into taekwondo schools, when they lock you into their contracts and they start you putting on the track, there's money invested. And by the time, let's just say it doesn't work out for that taekwondo thing, and they have a bad taste in their mouth for martial arts.
Mhm.
And they're like, you know what? They don't know what judo is. So it's martial arts. So they know that, and they went through what they did with the taekwondo stuff.
Mhm.
And I tell instructors that if you want to have a successful school, now mind you, just the other day I added my kids up in class, my 4 to 6 year old class. Now they weren't all there. I don't always get 100% attendance. It's usually about 80%, 75, 80%. You never guess. Now these are 4 to 6 year olds. You never guess how many kids I had on the mat.
How many?
Take a guess.
35.
Now I had 32 kids on the mat. And
Mhm.
that wasn't, if they were all there, I'm over 40 kids. Now
Yeah.
these are 4 to 6 year olds.
Wow.
Now, this is just in the little samurai class. I have some kids that are 6 year olds that aren't in that class. I got a bunch of 6 year olds that I don't even keep in that class anymore because they're so much more advanced. They're very more capable, aggressive.
Mhm.
You name it, that I have to push them out of that class because the way they're going to hurt somebody. They got the throws down. I have to move them up with the bigger kids.
Yeah.
So it's how do you keep the whole little samurai, the little 4 to 6 year olds up to, and move the kids are a little more aggressive, move them up the chain a little bit. And the kids are excited for that too when they move up to the chain. And I'm looking at a couple of kids who are getting ready to go to a tournament next weekend, and I'm looking at them going, I'm thinking they've been in judo for 2 years, and I'm thinking, well, they got to be 8, 9 years old. And all of a sudden they go, no, I registered him. I go, what division is he in? Well, he's 6. I'm like, and I'm looking at it going, oh my gosh, they're going to crush kids at 6 year olds. Because now, Dave, I don't like to teach my real little kids class. I'm doing Osotogari, the Ashibarais,
Mhm.
Ochigars. I'll do a zombie throw like Ogoshi. I say it's the zombie throw. They got to make noises like a zombie. We have fun. I'm not teaching them Ippon Seonagi. I'm not teaching them Tai Toshi. Which I can't do that, little kids. Or if I teach a little kid Ippon Seonagi, what usually happens? They go like this, and the kid's going flying. He's going to throw somebody on their head.
Yeah.
So, but I got these kids that are 6 up here doing Seon. I got them doing Marote Seonagi, not drop Seonagis either. They're
Mm.
going in, and I'm sitting there going, and these kids are going to be, they're competitors, and they're going to be competitors. And I work a lot with Steve Cohen. If we don't teach the judo kids, now this where it comes back to being an instructor. And there's not a lot of instructors that do this. If we don't teach the kids how to play judo, not just go out there and throw, grab, how to fundamentally play judo. Like when you play baseball. If you don't teach a kid how to hold your hands, how to grip the bat, how to swing through, they're not going to hit a baseball. If we don't teach our kids properly how to grip, how to move, how to use our umiyashi, sugi, how to do that stuff, the kids are never going to throw anybody.
Right.
We got to teach them. We have to teach them the fundamental aspects of judo,
Yeah.
which sometimes when I'm doing it with young kids, I'm sitting there going, "Ugh," but I know the patience will pay off in the long run because you got to start them somewhere.
Hmm.
You got to start kids somewhere. They're not going to be the best kids, and you've been in it long enough to know the kids that are really good in the beginning that are aggressive are the hardest kids to teach judo to
Hmm.
because of their aggressiveness. They can go out there and just whip kids around and do it. But they don't listen. They don't. A lot of times they don't listen to you, and because it works for them. And then time goes by, and the kid, little Johnny, that was very uncoordinated, awkward, all this. Now he's starting to get the movements to the techniques and the throws down. Now that aggressive kid can't throw him anymore. And now he's getting thrown. Now the guy that used to be the one throwing him all the time doesn't like playing judo anymore because he can't throw anybody or be
Yeah.
aggressive with it. And he doesn't know how to do the techniques because you can't for the life of you. You try to help them understand it, and they do it the way they do it. And I just it's challenging, it's fun, it's challenging, and the cream will rise to the crop. And again, when I work with it, it's just such I love working with kids. And I don't care who they are because I've got challenged kids come in. I have a boy in there right now. He's just turned 4, and he's got CP. He's got cerebral palsy, and he's not going to. He is going to lose control of his body the older he gets. And I know because we have a CP a jiu-jitsu player that's CP2, and he's visually impaired and he can't walk, but he's doing jiu-jitsu.
Hmm.
So, you know what? And it's awesome that he's on the mat like that. So here I'm blessed to, working with this kid. I'm a little bit, I don't want to say I'm not as disciplined with him because he's 4. Normally I wouldn't let things go, but this boy in here, I want him in there because I want him. And he's when he does stuff, he's very good.
Hmm.
But then he likes to run off the mat and stuff like that. And usually I don't let kids run off the mat, but in some cases it's like, you know what? His life's full of challenges. He's got a whole life to look forward to of being challenged. I'm not
Hmm.
going to hold him back doing stuff right now with him.
Right.
So, and it's good to work with. I mean, it doesn't matter who we work with. It's just whether they have, I don't want to say disabilities, when they have some challenges, because
Mhm.
I don't think I think that's all it is a challenge. Um, or they're just regular kids out there.
Yeah.
So, but for the most part, starting off is just having a passion for it, having patience, patience, tolerance. Um, and when you love the sport, we've done the sport for so long. So remember when we were kids, all I got to think back how I was when a kid. I remember when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I go back when I started when I was 7 years old. I know what I was like back then. And I remember, I'm looking at the kids doing the same stuff that I did the same stuff that these kids do.
Hmm.
You can't do this, can't get your hip in, your movement. And you sit there and go, what are you going to do? Just eventually they'll learn it. They'll get it down. So
Yeah. That to circle back to the business side, because I think it blends in. You mentioned like having the amount of kids there. You have a lot of kids. That takes a lot of marketing and a lot of you getting people in. Um, and so was there anything that you did special to market to get your club to be that popular?
that's a good question, Dave. Yes, yes. And it's funny. And this is where I had to get off my high horse and let my ego down. I couldn't let my ego was, because I was like, gosh darn it. My club's judo jiu-jitsu, and that's how it's going to be. And I'm not going to call it martial arts because gosh darn it, it's a judo club. And I see all these places says such and such martial arts. Well, when I got on the understanding out there that moms don't know what martial arts is, when you say no, they do. Parents want their kids in martial arts. They just don't know what martial arts they want to get. They just want them in martial arts. That's it. And I'm sitting there going, nope, it's judo. It's going to be judo. Well, who the heck knows what judo is? Ask anybody on the street. Who knows what judo is? Right?
Yeah.
It's amazing how they don't. So I was doing a training camp up in Rhode Island with the kids, and I was up at this really good judo school up there, and the instructor goes, "Hey, you got to talk to this guy. He got me on this webpage. It's unbelievable. Place is starting to blow up." I go, "I got a webpage. I don't need that." And I had a webpage for Shoot to Boo, and I had a guy do it, and it was great. Kayla Harrison's on there, Justin Flores, Travis Stevens. I had these people coming to my club, all this. But if you're looking for something, if you're a judo player, you're going to go, "Oh man, that's a great website." But who's looking for judo out there? People weren't looking for judo. They're not looking. They're looking for. And here's where it came down to. I am now I'm not a judo club anymore. When Billy's mom or Mary's mom is looking for me, she's looking for a problem solver. She's looking for a place that's going to teach your kids respect, focus, discipline, you name it. Who's going to get them out the couch? Who's going to work with the ADD? Who's going to get them off their computers? Who's going to start teaching them something that they're looking for? You go down the line, what leads when kids get into drugs, they're looking for something that they're going to solve their problems. I'm the problem solver. I'm not the judo instructor. I'm her problem solver. So when parents, when they come to me, I'm not trying to sell judo. I'm trying to sell when they come in. Here's what I always tell parents: you need to do what your kids, two things before you get them in the piano, lacrosse, football, soccer, baseball. Your kids need to do two things for life skills. You need to put them in swimming lessons. They have to learn how to swim, and they got to put them into martial arts. And I don't say judo, I just say martial arts, which I'm the martial arts now. They're in my. So there's two things that's going to teach them life skills, because kids are going to swim. I live in Cleveland, Ohio. We got Lake Erie here. You don't know how to swim on certain days. You go out in that lake, guess what? You're going to get caught in there and on an undercurrent, you're going to die. So teaching and you're going to teach them how martial arts, how to take care of themselves. Two things. And they look at you, go, you're absolutely right. I go, do the other stuff later if you have to, because parents put their kids into so much stuff. They're going here, there, here, there, here, there. Two things they need to start with before you get them into that. And they'll find out, because judo's a great sport and the kids love it. Now I lost my train of track on that. Oh, but what I did, I talked to the, Serge sent me this guy, and like I say, my webpage was great. And I heard something around Christmas time. And the guy that did my webpage, I was paying a certain amount of money for it every month. And it was great. I'd call him up, he'd fix things and that. And it was great. And then I heard something on the radio said 80% of the people out there with cell phones will be ordering their Christmas presents from their cell phone. And I'm like, what? And this is probably 6-7 years ago, before all this stuff started taking off. And I called my web guy up. I go, "Hey, is my web page mobile friendly?" And he goes, "No. Why?" He goes, "Can you get it mobile friendly?" He goes, "No." What they did, the web page I went to was same price per month, but it became now mobile friendly. And somebody goes, "Well, you own the web page?" I go, "No." Well, why do I want to own the web page? I don't need a web page. I go, They put their own content. They give me the thing, the content. They put it together. And now, if you look at it, I don't have the same web page that I had before, but I can tell you 7 or 8 judo clubs right now that have the same web page. And
Oh,
if you go to it, you'll see my name's so and so. I started my martial arts journey, blah blah blah. It's a problem solving web page.
mm-hmm.
And when I clicked on it, because before I had the web page, I had about 70 members, adults, kids, and I was just, struggling along, get a couple new kids that month, and a couple would quit, a couple come in, and one would quit. I'd go 3, 2 would leave. I get 4, 3 would leave. So I'm just going. When my web page went live,
But let me,
and
let me,
and,
let me hold on. Let me stop you right there. When your web page went live, just remember that statement, because my Zoom's going to be going out. I have to wait 9 minutes to call you back. So I do want to finish this, if you don't mind.
yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'll hang up. I got to wait 9 minutes. I'm going to send you another link in 9 minutes. And okay, so you had a live web page, and you were kind of dialing it. You were trying to figure out a way to get to market it correctly, or to get it to the masses in the right.
Right. So I didn't understand the power of the internet. A web page is this, you go on, you do this, everybody's doing the basic formula for a web page. I didn't understand the SEOs, the search engine optimizers, all that other stuff. I didn't understand Google, the whole thing. I didn't understand it. And when I went with this company, they put it together. They did they put everything, I could put pictures in. I had them put in some basic stock pictures of judo, but then I put in club pictures. Anything that had to do with karate, taekwondo, gis, get rid of it. I don't want anything in there like that. It had to be judo stuff oriented, just as a principle. Um, and you set it up with keywords and all that stuff, and judo, martial arts. I put karate, wrestling, taekwondo, anti-bully, the whole thing. And it went live. And the first day, I had received 5 emails on the first day. Now, mind you, I had a phone. I was happy to have a phone in my gym, right? And I'm sitting to myself going, that phone never rang. It did every once in a while. If I got him on the phone, I would talk to him. I'd get him to come in. But all of a sudden, and especially the way people were on their phones, is people don't want to talk on the phone. They just assume punch it in and text message, and they want to be right to the point. So I had things going through, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And it was just a continual thing. I had something that I could track people, and they would tell me, don't respond to them. Give them 3 days. If you start emailing them back, it might go into spam, blah, blah, blah. And they're telling me, they're walking me through the steps on what to do. And, like 2 days later, they call the slow drip stuff is that, and I understand slow drip. Now, do you know what a slow drip is?
No.
So when you go on, let's say you're on Facebook and you look at a product, right? What comes up the next day? The product you looked at, right?
Yep.
But what it says, the odds on this, I think what it is when you look something up, people don't purchase a product the first time they look at it or the second time. It's usually the 7th or 8th time behind that. And the only reason I say that, Dave, now this is funny. Not that I could afford it, a brand new car. I got to use one. So my wife wanted a Mercedes. Now, mind you, I got her a nice car. And one day I looked at Mercedes online. And the next thing I'll get another thing. And they're popping up every once in a while. About the 7th or 8th time, guess what I did? I took a trip with her to the Mercedes dealership, the used car where the Mercedes were at. Guess what we bought? So you know what? I understand the process of that.
Yeah.
So this company on my webpage will say, don't contact them. We'll send something to them in 2 days. And they'll start that slow drip process. So mind you, and next thing you know, then I started. Now, probably within the first 4 months, I went from a 70 people in the club to about, I think it was like 130 people.
Mhm.
Bang, just like that.
Yeah.
With doing absolutely nothing. Now, mind you, I took my webpage, turned it to a mobile friendly webpage with the search engine optimizers, everything in place.
Mhm.
And it cost me the same because my webpage, my old one, was the same price as the one I just got a hold of.
Right.
And it was just like, oh my gosh, unbelievable to change the difference. Then everything everything went like that after that.
Mhm.
And I had a friend whose company is to make sure everything's done right. There's no mistakes on anything out there with my company and that. He's done my Google stuff. He's got all that stuff in line. He helped, his company, and I'm working with AI stuff now.
Mhm.
His company does make sure all the Google stuff's in play. I'm getting the videos. I'm getting my pictures out there. I'm getting my reviews. So I got like 80 reviews, and people call me. I called you because they do martial arts in the area, and I don't do paid ads on Google
Mhm.
because I'm just in a community that I'm already 1 or 2 in the rankings. If you say Google Judo in Cleveland, well, I'm not in Cleveland.
Mhm.
I'm 15 minutes away. I'm in in a city. So when you come to my cities, it'd be like Googling Judo in Pittsburgh or martial arts in Pittsburgh. Most people don't live in Pittsburgh, do that. Oh, if they live in Pittsburgh, they don't have kids, right? They're in the suburbs.
Yeah.
They're out. They're in Cranberry. They're in you name it. They're in places where you raise kids at, not in the city. So they're not looking to do that stuff in the city. So that process, I paid a little extra money to have this taken care of. All the backdoor stuff behind the scenes. So I pay a little bit of money of of keeping my web page, keeping everything correct online, because keeping Google correct and everything, because when that's all in play, that is so important out there today. If you don't have that stuff, your Google everything in line, you're spinning your wheels.
Yeah.
Because when it's done correctly, you don't have to do anything. And even now, I do payment processing and all this other thing. I went with the company that does all that, and they actually do the web page the same way. So they gave me 3 months free, but it was the same price too. So it's
Mhm.
not like I was getting any money. So a couple of things I did too, because the more I get down the line, I had a little extra money to spend. I do like automations, right? If you sign up online, because my webpage, you sign up for free trials, and then it'll kick stuff out to you, send more stuff. And you're always, and I see what everybody gets too. I see when people answer, because automatically, and I'll look at my phone today, and things get sent to my phone constantly. And this is different because when somebody sends it, says you have a new lead that signed up, and it tells me their phone number, tells me what class they signed up for, it tells me everything. I'll send them a text message from myself.
Mm.
First thing they want to answer, first thing they want to know. I don't email them because then it goes to spam. It's a text message. First thing they want to know is the class schedule, and then they want to know the price. And I just send them the class schedule. If they want to know anything else, I'd say just call me. So when it comes down to it, on my text messages here, and I didn't get any today, but let me pull this up here. It's amazing on how, okay, Caleb, I had two leads yesterday. Thursday I had 3 leads on Thursday. Then I got 4, 5 leads on Monday. Now
Wow.
these people contacted me. I mean, I could go to a judo tournament. I tell people I'll be talking about it. Go, I'm sending a message back right now. I'm being contacted. Somebody's on my webpage looking at, and they're signing up for a trial session, or they're looking for more information.
Mhm.
And they look at me, and I'll be standing there, all of a sudden, bing, another one will come. I go, I got another one. I go, it's all set up if you do things properly in place to do that. Now, the automation one, like I said, I had to pay a little extra money for that. But then down the road, and what I had to do, I don't look at it as money. What my monthly fees are, I looked at it going, oh, this is how much it is. Well, if I get one new member, guess what? that covers that price. I'm not looking at money. One new member will
Yeah.
cover what I just bought. And I don't take it in monument. I don't take it in value, money value.
Yeah.
I think it is one new student is affording me another tool to get more kids into the school.
Mm-hmm.
And it just now I'm doing something next week. I got to meet. I do stuff with AI now too. And it's like, it's game changing, Dave. Game
Okay.
changing, the stuff out
Mhm.
there. And if I don't stay up, I want to stay up with this. So I constantly feeding people to my webpage, doing stuff to my webpage. And it's just, I try to tell people, what do you want to make? How much do you want to make in a judo school? And I try to tell people 10,000 a month, 15,000. I can tell you, I make a heck of a lot more than that per month, gross on my judo school. Unbelievable what I don't tell people, but it's amazing what I make. And I was getting ready to open up a second dojo. And I thought twice about it. I go, I'm 62. I don't know if I want that. Like Yoshi Nakamura.
Yeah.
Yoshi was going to be helping me. It was about a 40-minute ride for me on the other side of Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
And we were getting things set up, and I'm like, God, I don't know if I can do that, if I can start doing that. But I have to figure a way to make this better, more run, because the only unfortunate thing for myself is I haven't found anybody to recreate myself.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have good people that help me out. I have good instructors. I'm starting to pay certain people to help out now, or teach in
Mm-hmm.
there now. I have a French girl that comes in. She lives in Lordstown, outside Lordstown. She was ranked number 5th in the world when she
Oh,
competed.
wow.
Yeah, from France. And she wasn't in the 2012 Olympics because you know why? Her teammate was ranked number 1 in the
Yeah.
world. So, and she lives outside Lordstown. She comes to the dojo 3-4 times a month. Now, you have to pay somebody like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm just not going to ask her to drive an hour to come to my club for what?
Right.
She has value. And 2, she loves judo. And I found her on the internet. I was at the US Open. I'm like, oh my gosh, this girl's in Cleveland. So I started putting message out to her,
That's
saying
cool.
stuff. Yeah, it was really cool. She went with me last year to the US Open. And the only unfortunate thing about it is I had 3 girls that went to US Open last year. And I go, girls, who do you want sitting in the chair? And they sort of looked at me and went, not you.
That's
They didn't
hilarious.
say that. I go, I know, but I know, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
know, because they're girls, and I would want her sitting in my chair too,
Yeah.
but she's an asset to the club,
Yeah.
and such a powerful person to have come in there. So I'm fortunate for that. So it's real neat. It's real simple. I tell people, if you want to start, figure out if you want me to help you, I'll help you. Get a business plan together. Let's look at places where we can say, I don't need, you have to get ready to make an investment. I'm
Mhm.
not saying, thousands of dollars, but I'm also saying, you might want to be able to go, look for a karate studio, start or jiu-jitsu school, see
Mhm.
if you can get space that you can start where you control and you pay rent, because you don't want the studio to be taken, to be taking your membership fees, and they
Mhm.
pay you like a monthly fee that you're somebody. You want your students pay you, and then you'll pay to rent the space.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I always say that because if you leave, now you got your base that you can take your students and start your own.
Mhm.
And that's basically what I did with the karate studio. I was in the one karate studio, and I had to start. I had to go.
So let's circle back to the AI. How are you using that now?
So some of my posts I start to write, because my automations that people get automated, has the emojis, has all this stuff. And I have an SMS texting service that goes through my system that I have payments in that. So if I need to put a message out there, I click click the group I want to send it to, and I put the message, fight night tonight, blah, blah, blah. I tell parents that I can only put 165 letters on a message, which isn't a lot, right?
Mhm.
With space and everything. When you get that birthday thing from me, and it's got the emojis and it's space and it's nice and that's not me. That's my automations. When you get
Mhm.
something to me that says fight night tonight, tonight spelled NITE, no punctuation. When I'm trying to keep my letters so I don't get, because I have to pay a little bit for the SMX texting service. When you get stuff that are spelled weird, that's me. Well, the AI stuff is the AI is awesome. I put in how many words I want because I want it to go to Instagram. I want it to go to Facebook. Instagram only requires a certain amount of word. You can't put Twitter's or X is the same way. There's only a certain amount of characters you can have in there. I'll put, like I put a video of kids, judo, training champions, a couple other words. And within 10 seconds, it'll give me with emojis and everything in place. I sit there and look and go, I would not in a million years thought of me writing something like that, that
Yep.
somebody will look at that and go, oh my gosh, that is unbelievable. You know, my whole issue is this. I have to take my iPhone camera correctly because sometimes I turn and it doesn't use landscape pictures.
Mhm.
So I have to go back and make sure I put the correct pictures or the AI, it doesn't load, the pictures won't load into the system.
Yeah.
So, but it is unbelievable. And now, what it's doing now, the AI service I have now, when people text me, AI is going to respond to them.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. And then what it's going to come back, if they respond back, and AI is going to come back again because it'll know my class schedules. It'll know all that stuff in advance. So now I'm going to have the service just being, there's going to be a conversation going back instead of with an automation,
Mhm.
getting a text message. It's going to be carrying on a conversation with AI,
Yeah.
what to do.
Has
So
all
it's
has all the information anyway, so might as well just put
yeah,
it together. Yeah.
yep. So it's being beta tested. So I want to see what in the long run, what's it gonna cost me? That's the
So
whole thing. What's it gonna cost me to do that?
so this is a special AI company or program.
No, it's going. I have a system that I do my credit card stuff on, my
Mhm.
credit card information, which tracks my attendance, which tracks my leads. It does so much.
Mhm.
Everybody, and I tell people the website's the most important part of your business.
Mhm.
The second part is this. You're processing everything. It tracks your leads, your attendance. It has my goals. It has all this information. And then two, if I see you next time, Dave, I'll pull it up on my phone and I show you what it does. Shows you who's late on their payments. It shows you the people that are getting the new leads that are coming in, what they're getting text to them, the messages they're being sent.
Mhm.
It does so much. You can see what's going on with your system. And here's one thing that was an eye opening that 3 years ago. Do you know who Chuck Wall is? He's the Adidas distributor in the United States. Chuck Wall is wall to wall martial arts in Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Okay.
So him and I got to be good friends. He's the one that got me hooked on Website Dojo
Mhm.
and Spark and all that. He's the one that's helped. He's the one that's mentored me through the process
Mhm.
of where I'm at. And we both run successful judo clubs. We went to this event in Coral Springs, Florida. We wanted to learn the system's called Spark. And this Taekwondo studio was having a convention, whatever, 100 people, such and such, $299 a person, 100 people. Do the math.
Mhm.
299 times 100, $30,000, right?
Mhm.
Like that.
Yeah.
Well, we went down there and there's 98 Taekwondo instructors, 2 judo instructors.
Oh.
And as I'm watching, because they did a lot of Taekwondo, they had some fluff in there. They were selling something. This guy's selling his system, which is good, but it's not for me. And I'm watching the Taekwondo guy do stuff. I watched the stuff he was doing, and Dave, um, you ever see karate class when they hold those things and they kick those little shields and make that noise?
Yeah.
Eugene would know what they are. I'm watching that going, wow, they're kicking in the air. I went out and bought 8 of them. Guess what we do with the little kids now? Foot sweeps,
Oh,
hitting
no
that thing.
kidding.
Unbelievable, because I'm learning. I got to open my mind. I'm
Mhm.
looking at them doing the taekwondo stuff out there. We
Yeah.
went to learn the system because they're teaching of the system.
Mm.
They're going through all the stuff, and I sat there. Chuck and I looked at each other and go, "You want to know why judo's behind?" I go, "Look at this right here.
Mhm.
Every judo instructor should have been down here in this little event, seeing what's going on because they're clueless. And
Mhm.
everybody tell people when you think you run a judo club, you know what? There's some successful clubs out there. Then there's some when you're in the rec center, and I don't say a bad word about people that teach in the rec center, but you can't grow your club, you can't grow a judo club in a rec center.
Mm.
You can get to a certain point and that's it.
Mhm.
You're there 3 days a week, an hour and a half. You're what 4.5 hours a week. How can you run a judo school like that?
Yeah.
You can't. You can't. Until you get out of that mindset. Most judo people, they have that that poverty mindset.
Mhm.
And it's like I'm from a blue collar community, and I was always, it was all growing up. It was like, oh, there's no business, there's no this, there's no, and it's just negative, negative, negative. Steel mills, Ford plants, all that stuff, and it's just like negative. All of a sudden, I went to work downtown Cleveland doing something, and I'm sitting there going, "There's a 65-foot boat sitting out there. Look at all these boats." I go, "I thought we were in a recession." I go, "I didn't think people had money." I go, "Where I lived at, the mindset was a poverty mindset." And I
Mhm.
said, from that point on, I said, I can't, I've got to open my mind up.
Mhm.
I got to, and this, now mind you, this is back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
This is in the early 90s. So I learned a long time ago, I got to get out of that mindset.
Yeah.
And then my wife, the main thing was my wife brought me out of that, which said, you gotta make money doing judo.
Mhm.
And I would have never dreamed of myself where I'm at right now. And I like it because I got it broken down to, I do one class in the morning. I teach a fitness class at 6 a.m. and I teach a jujitsu class at 7 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, fitness, Tuesday, Thursday, jujitsu. Then I don't do nothing all day until judo class at night. So it gives me time to work my social platforms.
Mhm.
It gives me time to do my book work. It gives me time to take a nap, just to relax, and then go back in for classes at 4:30 at night, and I'm there
Yeah.
till 9:30. I'm not putting a lot of hours in there, not like I used to be in there all the time. Then I moved into a nice house. I go, you know what? I can do this work at home,
Mhm.
and I like to come home in my office and do that at home. And
Yeah.
then when I get bored in the office, I go out and work on the yard. I would have never thought about that because most judo instructors, they're working, they have a job. Well,
Yeah.
my job's teaching judo. My
Mhm.
job is working with kids. I love it. And I would never thought about, 10, 15 years ago, I would have never dreamed of me where it's at right now. Chuck and I we're trying to see who can be the first one to get 300 students.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. So I have a little advantage. Well, he started a jujitsu school in his place too, where I have a little advantage because I have a jujitsu school. And it's
Mhm.
just people go, why do you teach kids jujitsu? I go, I don't have time. What do you mean you don't have time? I go, when I start classes at 4 o'clock, my judo class starts at 5. Monday, Wednesdays, I have my kids before my bigger kids.
Mhm.
Now the little samurais is 30 kids in there. My other kids, my big kids, well, that's 35 to 45 kids in there.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know very many judo clubs are putting 45 kids on the mat. And again, mind you, they're not all there either. When
Yep.
I'm in there on a Monday night, there's 45 kids on the mat for the first class. Then I have my competitor class, which I moved some of the kids that were in that first class or that were in the little samurais class are really good. I moved them up in there because they're more competitors.
Mhm.
I get 35, 40 kids in that class. And then there's adults in there too. My cadets are in there and my older kids are in there too. So now I got 35, 40 kids in the next class. So I'm looking at 85, 80, 85, 90 kids in 2 classes,
Yeah.
which is, and for people, they look at me like they're deer in the headlights. I go, I can show you, but what you're telling me, you're not going to get there like that. It's not how it works. If you're
Yeah.
waiting, I don't know if you're waiting to do Groupon or doing something where you're doing these demonstrations at the county fairs, or, you're at churches. I don't do that stuff anymore. There's no
Yeah.
reason to do that stuff anymore.
Not with the
If I
internet. No.
No, no, there's no reason to do that stuff anymore. So, videos, I'll eventually start probably doing, I've been trying to get a YouTube. Well, I have, believe it or not, the system that I'm on, I have a member app. When the kids come in, parents, they check their kids in. All they do is they go on their phone and they check it in. If I want to do stuff through the app, like the competition, there's a tournament in Kentucky, I got to send out the link. I'll get on the app and I'll put the link in the app and send that out to parents. Now I'm trying to do stuff. I'm writing something now where I'm tying, a video on tying your belt.
Mm-hmm.
First class, not first class, but first rank, white, yellow belt. Or if it's little samurais, but let's just say it's white, yellow belt. Techniques. Here's the techniques that you have to do. Kids that will be up for that class, I'll give them access to get that information. Next rank, of the yellow belts, here's the information. White, yellow belt can't access that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Kids that are going up for the yellow belt can access that. And that's all can be done with the system I'm on.
Mm-hmm.
So I just have to import get the information in there. I have to take the time out. It's gonna be a little time consuming, but once it's done, it's done. And I'm at the point right now, I've got it all written out. Now I got to get to the point where I got to videotape it.
So when the kids come in, their parents actually type into the phone their
And there's a button to push it. Wish it.
Yeah, they're attending class. Like,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's your attendance.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Now I'll look at it at the end of the night, because not all parents would do it. I'll look through it tonight and I'll see people that didn't check in and make sure they're checked in, because if if you don't check in, or if I don't check you in and you miss 2 classes, hey, Sensei Paul here, we missed your class last night. Is everything okay? They're asking a question. So I'm always feeling my concern. Is everything okay? And I'll get people, yeah, we had a miss. We had we had a play this week. My son was sick, or this week we had parents conferences. This week we had a dance recital or this to go to, so we couldn't make it. We'll see you on. And I'll ask, when am I going to see you next?
Is that through a text message, or is that a phone call?
Yeah, that's a text message. Yeah, it's a text message through the Spark system that I'm on.
Mm-hmm.
That's an automation that I'm on.
So automated. So they don't show up for 2 classes in a row. The automation kicks in,
right,
and then sends it over. Hey, how you doing? Everything okay?
Yeah. Which is real neat, because it shows that I'm concerned. But
Mm-hmm.
Dave, I'm so OCD. I can't remember what I did yesterday. So when I think about all the kids that are in there, I can't remember who's all in class and that.
Well, no, not with that kind of numbers. I mean, you need to have it absolutely automated and systematized. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah,
that is
so
really slick.
Yeah, it is. It is. The things that I do, that it's just amazing. And for the most part, I just try to tell people, you got to get started.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get started. And if you don't get started, it's funny, Dave. I quit my job at 45. I guarantee you, if I didn't quit that job then, I would have been 55 going, God, I wish I would have quit my job.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just one of those things you just got to go, got to do it.
Yeah.
It's got to be done. And for me to run a successful judo school, now mind you, my wife was doing stuff that it's not like we weren't making any money. Like, I was doing creative things, like I did for judo, and believe, now get this one, because this led into something else. I started a class, it was called Ground Fighting 101. And I put it out to the police departments, 7 police departments in the area.
Mm-hmm.
Took them all I knew some of the people that were the training instructors, because they were friends of mine. But I had 12 people come in the first. Now, mind you, it was for 4 weeks, 2 times a week, and I charged $89 for it. So I got one department, I got a bunch of guys in. So at the end of it, I teach them certain, Yoko Shiogatami, I'm teaching them hold downs, Kesugatami, stuff like that. And I'm teaching them how to do Urigatami, when they reach up, how to put them in and get them and I figured out how to do cuffing positions and that. And at the end of it, I had the guys come in, bring their duty belts on. I'm going to be the combative person, and you're going to take advantage of me,
Mm-hmm.
or you're going to try to control me. Well, it's ironic that when I did that, the day I did that, 3 lieutenants came in from the one department and watched it. And after that, they hired me a couple years went by. I have been, for the last 3 years, I've been their DT instructor.
Oh,
I
really?
teach them defensive tactics. Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
I've been on there. I've been doing that for 3 years. And it's very, I don't want to say, I don't want to sound like I'm, I'm doing it. I'm making money doing it. And it's
Mhm.
very, they pay me well because they pay me for the facility. They pay me for my time. And I actually hired my jujitsu instructor. Him and I both do it. So they pay me very well for it. So I do it twice a month. Most police departments don't train hardly at all. And I get the city of Avon twice a month. Two
Mhm.
times a month they come in and train,
No
which is
kidding.
unbelievable. Yeah,
That's
it's
great.
unbelievable. But law enforcement's tough to work with. They are tough to work with. You know,
In what
there's
way?
a lot of the law enforcement officers don't want to do this stuff. They don't want to do it.
Mhm.
And they want to go home. They're all getting paid, mind you. For them to
Mhm.
come in there, they're getting paid, but it's their day off.
Oh.
So they're coming in for 2 hours, but it's their day off. They got to
Mhm.
come in and they got to do something else. But they're getting paid for 4 or 6 hours or something like, and they're only in there for 4 hours. They're getting
Yeah.
paid overtime for it. But they complain about it. And I'm
Mhm.
like, okay. But I tell people too, I had to be creative. Judo is the best form of martial arts. How do you teach police officers judo? How can you teach them how to protect them, right?
Mhm.
It's very simple to do, and then along the ways, I was able to go down to south of Columbus. I went to this place, it was called Ohio Peace Officer Training Academy. I got certified, went down there for a week and got certified. The guy that ran it, when me and my friend went down there, and you might know Joe Schmidt. Him and I were the same age. And he was started at Shotokan. But anyway, we were doing some stuff together. We went down there, and at first they wouldn't let us down because the current attorney general, you had to be a police officer to go down there.
Mm.
But we weren't police officers.
Yeah.
So when the new attorney general came in, he said, you don't have to be a police officer. You have to be sponsored in by a police department. So there's a police department that had a couple of guys playing judo with me. Well, they were able, I paid for it, but they sponsored me in. And Joe went down too because his brother-in-law was at a different department and he ran the DT. He was a defensive tactics instructor for that point. When we got sponsored, we went down there.
Mhm.
And you would do the same thing down there. You would go down, they were showing so many techniques. Dave, they had a mount that they had to get through. And they would show a technique, and there was two jujitsu guys down there, and I know I've known them for years. They were showing techniques, and they go back and practice it for 3 or 4 times, and they move on to the next one, right? And you and I both know you ain't retain, and you're learning 20 techniques a day. You
Yeah.
ain't retaining that. And the funny thing was, the guy that ran it, he goes, "This is what was required by law." So I'm like, okay. He goes, the best people to teach police officers, guess who they are? They're not police officers. They're
Right. Correct.
martial artists.
Mhm.
People that do martial arts are the ones that are best. Now, take it for everyone to do with judo, jujitsu, taekwondo. A black belt in judo or jujitsu has done it. Well, I've been playing jujitsu 10 years. So I think I know what I'm doing. I just didn't get a certain black belt and certain karate thing, where a 10-year-old's got his black belt that he knows what he's doing, or
Mhm.
judo. I've been doing it a long time. I know what I'm doing. And people go, well, how do you know? It's like, practice it my whole life. What do
Mhm.
you mean? And then it's funny because the first day we were down there, my friend and I were like, we're trying to help these guys out, these police officers. And they're like, well, who are you? What department are you with? We're like, well, we're not with the department. They're like, what do you guys know? We're like, I guess nothing. So
Oh my
they
God.
had lunch. They had a lunch break, right? But we stayed in there with the 2 jujitsu guys, and Joe and I rolled with them, right?
Mhm.
I mind if you watched it, we're kicking the crap out of them. They're
Mhm.
playing jujitsu. We got them pinned. They can't move. We got them in Yoko Shiogatami. The guy, and even Kesikatami is not the best hold down. But if you know how to do Kesikatami,
Mhm.
you're not getting out of that hold down. I don't care who you are. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how good at you'll get out eventually, but I'm holding you down there for a while. And if you're getting out of it, I'm gonna put myself in another position that you're not gonna get off your back.
Mm-hmm.
So the officers came in and saw what we were doing, the two of them, just sort of manhandling them. And all of a sudden, after lunch, they came back with a different attitude towards us. That,
Oh.
oh, you guys are beating the instructors up. And now they're like a little bit more receptive. They come out, hey, can you help us with this?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. But yeah, and then that led to me just being able to, and this or last year, I worked with the sheriff's department. There's the city I'm in now. I'm always in contact with them because I started doing a little training with them on their open days. They're probably going to bring me on to help with those guys over there too this year. So the one guy's on a tour of duty. He's getting ready to come back. So once he gets back, we'll get that all situated. I might be with another department too, just from being a sport judo player,
Yeah.
not a self-defense person,
Yeah.
not anything else. I'm not a Kodokan straight. Boom. I'm a sport judo player. I've done sport judo my whole life.
Yeah.
And my sport judo, it's like sport jujitsu, right?
Mm-hmm.
You call it what you want. If you don't know what you're doing on the street, I don't care if you're a sports jujitsu, regular jujitsu guy, you're going to manhandle that person out there. You know what you're doing on the ground. If you're you know, I guess there's some judo people out there that maybe not, but for the most part, if you're halfway decent in judo, somebody tries to fight you and you get a hold of them, a good chance somebody's going on the ground and it's not you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And that brings you back to your first point. Judo is one of the best self-defenses, right? I mean, you have the balance, you have the technique, you have the positioning, all that stuff is also muscle memory too. So if you built it in your whole life, you're kind of like the Jason Bourne of type of thing where you don't it's already there. So
Yeah.
it's automated in your system, if
Yeah.
you will, you know?
But as I go back to, this is part of me building my business.
Mm-hmm.
This is part of the process of me building my business.
Right.
So every year I get a check from the police department for a healthy chunk of change because
Mm-hmm.
I'm their instructor.
Right.
Because I've built the credibility, starting out with the class called Ground Fighting 101.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think I only did 4 classes once a week, 4 classes for $89, and they loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And just simple stuff. How do you become better?
Yeah.
How can you build your school? What does it take to bring people into your school that
Mhm.
normally that would not come into your school?
Yeah.
And so that was one of the things. And I do fitness in there too. I was a certified fitness trainer. So when I started off too, I had to fill time. So I did a boot camp class 2 nights a week.
Mm-hmm.
Today, I wish I had more time to teach classes, but my boot camp people have been with me for 15 years, Dave.
Oh, wow.
50, they're in their 70s. They're in their 50s,
That's
60s, and
amazing.
70s. They've been with me for 15 years. It's like, and the class is about 15 to 18 people. It's not I'm not a fitness. I'm not a gym.
Yeah.
I do a boot camp class. I do a men's fitness class in the morning. My wife does a woman's fitness class 3 days a week. I do a men's class 3 days a week, or 4. I do a Saturday with it.
Mhm.
It's just stuff to build the school up,
Yeah.
to help pay the rent.
Mhm.
And that's how I started off with it, because I needed to, when I started off, I go, man, I got to do something besides other help with the judo part of it. So I had to put other things into play. So
Mhm.
it's real neat to see how a couple other classes that aren't judo related in there. And then two, I was fortunate that my jujitsu instructor came in when I was in my first building, and he was a blue belt in jujitsu. And that we were like, I go, hey, if I ever start a club, an MMA club, would you be the jujitsu instructor? He goes, yeah. I go, then stop paying me. Don't pay me any more money. So he was in there. We were in there for 4 years. So he didn't pay for like 3.5 years, which is
Mhm.
okay. Then we moved. Then we started an MMA team. Then we started a no-gi jiu-jitsu. And then we went into doing a gi jiu-jitsu. He was a purple belt
Yeah.
and teaching it because there wasn't a lot of black belts around. And now he's a 2-stripe black belt.
Well, you're covering different aspects of people that that people enjoy, as well as the current environment. You know,
Yeah.
people in the jujitsu, they know what it is. It's very popular. You know, then you have the judo, then you have the fitness. You're expanding out. This has been great. We're coming to the end. Paul, let me ask you, if you were going to give two things for someone to remember, to take away, what would you say they would be?
If you have a passion for judo, and if you're thinking about opening up a club or starting a business, you have to take it as a business, is not a hobby.
Mhm.
It's not hard to do. You have to take the step. You have to let your ego down and say, hey, look, I let my ego down, said, got out from judo and I started to teach a martial art.